Close your eyes and picture your kid's morning. Delete the alarm. Delete the school bus, the bell, the desks in rows, the worksheet packet due Friday. Now delete the building itself. For roughly 95% of the time modern humans have existed on this planet, none of that existed either, and children turned out fine. Better than fine, according to the handful of anthropologists who've actually lived alongside the last surviving hunter-gatherer societies on Earth. Right now, somewhere, a 6-year-old is sitting at a desk, waiting to be told they can speak. For most of human history, a 6-year-old was already useful, carrying water, minding a baby, learning to read the bush for danger before they could read a single word. So how did children learn everything they needed to survive? Hunting, healing, cooperating, staying alive, without a single teacher, textbook, or classroom. In 2009, anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy published Mothers and Others, built on decades of fieldwork arguing that human children were never raised by one or two parents alone. Among many foraging groups, a single infant might be held, fed, or watched by 10 or more different caregivers before its first year was over. Grandmothers, aunts, older siblings, unrelated adults passing through camp. Hrdy calls this cooperative breeding. She argues it isn't a cultural quirk. It's the reason human brains can afford to take so long to mature, because someone was always covering the gap. A modern toddler might see 2 or 3 adult faces in a day. A forager infant saw a rotating cast. That constant handling taught trust and social reading before the child could even walk. So who actually did the teaching? Anthropologist Barry Hewlett spent years living with the AKA, forest foragers in Central Africa, and found something that broke the assumption that teaching requires a teacher at all. AKA, infants weren't sat down for lessons. They were carried, skin to skin, for roughly half of their waking hours, close enough to hear every adult conversation, every negotiation, every joke. By the time a child could walk, they'd absorbed thousands of hours of adult speech and behavior through nothing but proximity. Researchers have a term for it now: legitimate peripheral participation. No curriculum, no worksheet, just a small body pressed against the daily work of being an adult. Everyone assumes hunter-gatherer parenting was harsh. Survival of the fittest, sink or swim. The truth runs closer to the opposite. Anthropologist Melvin Connor's decade-spanning review of forager societies, compiled in his 2010 book The Evolution of Childhood, found corporal punishment reported as rare or entirely absent across the large majority of hunter-gatherer cultures he surveyed. But there's a problem with the tidy "it takes a village" story. A village still needs someone freed up to teach. In 1998, anthropologist Kristen Hawkes and colleagues published research on the Hadza of Tanzania that helped formalize what's now called the grandmother hypothesis. Older women past childbearing age didn't retire from provisioning. They became some of the most consistently productive foragers in camp, digging tubers for grandchildren so that mothers could wean earlier and have more children sooner. Hawkes's data suggested a single grandmother's daily foraging could supply a significant share of a weaned grandchild's calories. Menopause, seen this way, isn't a biological glitch. It's a teaching position that lasts decades. Psychologist Peter Gray has spent much of his career documenting how children among groups like the Jew Hoansi, also called the Kung of the Kalahari, learned almost everything through self-directed play rather than instruction. Kids as young as 4 practiced digging, tracking, and tool use inside mixed-age playgroups, almost entirely without adult intervention. By adolescence, many were already competent hunters and gatherers in their own right. Gray's argument, built from decades of ethnographic reports, is blunt. Play wasn't a break from learning. Play was the entire curriculum. So the honest answer to how did they learn without schools isn't that they learned less. It's that the camp itself was the school. Every adult was a rotating teacher who never clocked in as one. Childhood wasn't a waiting room before real life started. It was already an apprenticeship in it. Picture that 6-year-old again, waiting for the bell. Somewhere in the long, unwritten majority of our history, a child that same age is crouched beside an aunt, watching her gut a fish, copying her without being asked, learning a skill no test will ever grade.